morning and welcome to the Breakfast News on Rajya Sabha TV. I am Aishwarya Kapoor with you. Well, Pakistan Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif has raked up Kashmir issue at the UNGO. He has glorified Burhan Wani. Now, India has also hit back, saying that Pakistan is attached to terrorism. That is the big focus today. Let's take a look at the other headlines. India reacts sharply to Nawaz Sharif raking up Kashmir issue at the UNGA. Says glorifying slain terrorists shows Pakistan's attachment to terrorism. Karnataka decides to defer release of Kaveri river water to Tamil Nadu. Special session of State Assembly called on Friday to decide on Supreme Court's directive. Union Cabinet decides to merge railway and general budgets, gives in principal approval to advancing presentation of annual budget by a month. Much anticipated deal for 36 Rafale fighter jets to be cleared to be signed on Friday in presence of French Defence Minister, who arrives in India today. And at least 43 people drown after a boat carrying over 600 migrants capsizes off the Egyptian coast. Tragedy in backdrop of breakthrough declaration at the UN summit to share responsibility of refugee crisis. Our top focus this morning, Pakistan Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif addressed the 71st session of the United Nations General Assembly on Wednesday, where he raised the Kashmir issue, alleging human rights violations there, and also hailed Hizbul Mujahideen terrorist Burhan Wani. Now, India has hit back, saying that Pakistan was glorifying terror and showing its attachment to terrorism. Reacting to Pakistan's charge that India posed unacceptable conditions to dialogue, MEA says India's only condition was ending terrorism. Even before Pakistan Prime Minister walked up to the dais to address the 71st Annual United Nations General Assembly, it was amply clear that he would rake up the Kashmir issue. Devoting much of his 20-minute speech to Kashmir, Nawaz Sharif insisted that peace and normalization between Pakistan and India could not be achieved without a resolution of the Kashmir dispute. Interestingly, he pointed out that his country had gone the extra mile to achieve this.
Pakistan wants peace with India. We have gone the extra mile to achieve this, repeatedly offering a dialogue to address all outstanding issues. But India has posed unacceptable preconditions to engage in a dialogue.
While pointing out his country's so-called efforts to achieve peace, Sharif glorified slain Hizbul militant Burhan Wani as a young leader, adding that Pakistan fully supports the demand of the Kashmiri people for self-determination. Sharif went on to say that Indian brutalities in Kashmir were well documented and that Pakistan would share with the Secretary-General evidence of violations of human rights in Jammu and Kashmir. He added that Pakistan wanted stability in Southeast Asia.
Pakistan is committed to the establishment of strategic stability in the region. It neither wants nor is it engaged in an arms race with India. But we cannot ignore our neighbors' unprecedented arms buildup and will take whatever measures are necessary to maintain credible deterrence.
India has reacted sharply to Nawaz Sharif's address, saying that he was in denial of the Uri terror attack. MEA spokesperson Vikas Swarup tweeted that Pakistan Prime Minister Sharif at UNGA glorifying Hizbul terrorist Burhan Wani in UN's highest forum shows continued Pakistan attachment to terrorism. On Sharif's claims that India posed unacceptable conditions to dialogue, MEA said that India's only condition was ending terrorism.
Pakistan wants dialogue while holding a gun in its hand, a terrorist gun in its hand. Talks and guns don't go together. Our position on a dialogue has been consistent. We have always been ready for a dialogue, but we will not succumb to the blackmail tactics of a government in Islamabad that seems eager to use terrorism and terrorism as policy. It was shocking that a leader of a nation can glorify a self-declared, a self-advertised terrorist at such a forum. This is self-incrimination by the Pakistan Prime Minister.
With his address at the UNGA, Nawaz Sharif continues his efforts to internationalize the Kashmir situation. He has already written to the UN and world leaders, sent out political envoys to major capitals, and even dedicated this year's Eid ul-Zuha to Kashmiris to highlight the so-called Kashmir cause. However, all this has not even remotely evoked the response that Pakistan had hoped for. US has now asked Pakistan to cooperate with India in probing the terror attack on the army base in Kashmir's Uri. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV. Meanwhile, in related news, the Defence Minister Manohar Parrikar asserted on Wednesday that those behind the Uri terror attack would not be spared. However, he admitted that security lapses could have triggered the attack. India also summoned Pakistan High Commissioner Abdul Basit on Wednesday. It was conveyed to him that the latest attack only proves that terrorism on Pak soil is active and well. The Cabinet Committee on Security also discussed developments in the wake of Sunday's terror attack in Uri.
Admitting that security lapses could have triggered the Uri terror attack, Defence Minister Manohar Parrikar asserted that he would ensure such incidents are not repeated. He also added that the Narendra Modi-led BJP government is serious about punishing those responsible for the deadly attack at the army base in Uri.
We will definitely find out what went wrong. Also take steps to ensure that it doesn't go wrong again. And also, I think the country needs to ensure that the repetition of wrongs does not repeat again and again.
Taking the Uri probe ahead, India on Wednesday gave evidence of involvement of Pakistan-based terrorists to Pakistan and demanded that it refrain from supporting and sponsoring terrorism. Meanwhile, Foreign Secretary S. Jaishankar summoned Pakistan High Commissioner Abdul Basit and told him that the latest terrorist attack only underlines that terrorism on Pakistani soil is active.
That the government of Pakistan had made a solemn commitment in January 2004 to not allow its soil or territory under its control to be used for terrorism against India. The persistent and growing violation of this undertaking is a matter of very serious concern. The latest terrorist attack in Uri only underlines that the infrastructure of terrorism in Pakistan remains active. We demand that Pakistan live up to its public commitment to refrain from supporting and sponsoring terrorism against India.
Simultaneously, demand for a swift surgical strike on terror camps in Pak-occupied Kashmir has risen. Political parties, civilians as well as defense experts are demanding a quick and befitting response.
प्रधानमंत्री को धन्यवाद देना चाहिए कि जो लोग कहते थे प्रधानमंत्री विदेश में रहते हैं तो उसका आज नतीजा हुआ है कि प्रधानमंत्री का पर्सनल रिपोर्ट जो है सब देश के साथ और सब देश के प्रमुख के साथ इतना नज़दीकी हो गया है और उन्होंने कन्विंस कर दिया कि पाकिस्तान जो है एक आतंकवादी राष्ट्र है.
We must be alert now. We have got to be on our toes. Our military will have to be agile because any attempt to infiltrate and then strike terror has to be stopped at the very inception.
We are proud of the fact that our armed forces have been able to retaliate in terms of sending out a clear message to the Pakistani terrorists that, look, such infiltration will be met with a strong hand. I think this is just not enough. Not only a message must go deep down, but the fierce psychosis must stick into every terrorist's head that he is going to the gallows in India.
In Srinagar, curfew remained in force in 3 police station areas as curbs were lifted from other parts following slight improvement in the tense atmosphere. Normal life, however, remained affected in the valley. Wednesday was the 75th consecutive day of restrictions. Shops, business establishments and petrol pumps continued to remain shut in Srinagar and elsewhere in the valley, while public transport was off the roads. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, top security experts from Saudi Asian nations except Pakistan will meet in the national capital for 2 days, beginning today, to mull ways to strengthen the anti-terrorism mechanism in the region. Now, India is hosting the second meeting of the high-level group of eminent experts to strengthen the SAARC anti-terrorism mechanism for 2 days. The meeting was recommended by the SAARC Ministerial Declaration on Cooperation in Combating Terrorism, adopted by the 31st meeting of SAARC Council of Ministers in Colombo in 2009. However, the meeting will not be attended by Pakistan's Director General of Intelligence Bureau, Aftab Sultan, amid the ongoing hostility between India and Pakistan over terror attack in Uri. It is being hosted by Director of Intelligence Bureau and Intelligence Chief of all the other SAARC nations. The meeting will review the functioning of the existing anti-terrorism mechanisms in the region, including the SAARC Terrorist Offensive Monitoring Desk and the SAARC Drug Offences Monitoring Desk, intelligence sharing and police cooperation. It would also discuss related issues such as combating corruption, cyber crimes, terror financing, as well as money laundering. On to the other top story. Well, Karnataka has decided to defer the Kaveri water release to neighbouring Tamil Nadu. Well, the decision was taken after an all-party meeting in Bangalore on Wednesday, after Chief Minister Siddaramaiah said that the Supreme Court's order was unimplementable. Now, Karnataka has called a special session of the State Assembly on Friday. After a day of meetings with state cabinet ministers and leaders of various political parties on Wednesday, the Karnataka government decided to postpone the implementation of the Supreme Court directive, which ordered the state to release 6,000 cusecs of Kaveri water to Tamil Nadu till 23rd of September. The state cabinet will convene a special session of the state legislature on Friday to take a decision on the Supreme Court directive. The decision was welcomed by the opposition BJP, which boycotted the all-party meeting, accusing the Siddaramaiah government for not taking any specific decision on the water dispute issue.
The cabinet has decided to defer of releasing of water. It is also decided in the cabinet to convene to request His Excellency Governor of Karnataka to convene both the houses on 23rd September 2016 at 11 a.m.
Not happy, and we never expected such a decision that Supreme Court is going to take. And already I told number of times that because of the failure of the Chief Minister.
The Apex Court had on Tuesday doubled the quantum of water released to Tamil Nadu, overturning the Kaveri Supervisory Committee's order to release 3,000 cusecs per day for 10 days after Tamil Nadu pressed for water to save its Samba paddy crop. Meanwhile, sporadic protests over the water issue continued in the Kaveri River Basin districts, especially Mandya, the epicenter of the Kaveri agitation, where the agitators blocked Bengaluru-Mysuru road at various places. The state, however, remained largely peaceful, with schools, colleges and offices remaining open. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV. Well, in a significant departure from the past, the Union Cabinet decided to merge the rail budget with the general budget. Further, it will also advance the presentation of the annual budget by a month. Now, the CCEA also approved a capital grant of 5,176 crore rupees to GAIL to develop the 2,539-kilometre-long Jagdishpur-Haldia and Bokaro-Dharma gas pipeline project.
There will be only one budget, which will be the general budget, and all proposals with regard to the railways will be a part of the general budget.
The Union Cabinet on Wednesday decided to end a 92-year-old tradition by merging the rail budget with the general budget. In order to make the exercise simpler, it also approved the removal of classifications for expenditure. Finance Minister Arun Jaitley also announced the in-principle decision to advance the date of budget presentation in Parliament from the usual February end.
While we in principle are in favor of finishing the entire financial business of the government before 31st of March, so that the implementation can begin on the 1st of April and the expenditures can begin, the taxation proposals can begin. The actual dates will be decided after a consultation depending on the calendar of the state assembly elections.
The Rail Minister said the merger of the rail and general budgets will not impact the functional autonomy of the railways. Instead, it will help in enhancing capital expenditure.
रेलवे की जो डिस्टिंक्ट आइडेंटिटी एज द डिपार्टमेंटली रन कमर्शियल एंटरप्राइज इट विल बी बरकरार रहेगी, जैसे वित्त मंत्री जी ने कहा. फाइनेंशियल पावर रूल्स पावर जनरल मैनेजर डीआरएम को जो आज हमें उनको दे के रखे वो भी उसी तरह से बरकरार रहेंगे. रेलवे को जो डिविडेंड देने की बड़ी लायबिलिटी होती थी 10,000 करोड़ से भी ज़्यादा, वो भी देने की ज़रूरत नहीं होगी.
The Cabinet Committee of Economic Affairs also approved viability gap funding of 40% of the estimated cost of 12,940 crore to GAIL to develop the 2,539 kilometer long Jagdishpur Haldia and Bokaro Dhamra gas pipeline project.
2539 किलोमीटर की ये पाइपलाइन बनेगा. उत्तर प्रदेश, बिहार, झारखंड, वेस्ट बंगाल और ओडिशा, ऐसे 5 राज्यों में ये स्प्रेड होगी.
In an attempt to check rising prices, the cabinet extended stock holding limits on traders of pulses, edible oils and oilseeds by 1 year till September 30, 2017. It also gave ex post facto approval for the 20% hike in the pension given to freedom fighters and their descendants. Vishal Daya's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
In Breakfast News, time for a very short break. Up next, we'll have more news, especially the international news. Stay with us.
Our institute's mandate is to work with different natural fibers, excluding cotton. Plastic has got definite advantages, it's true, but simultaneously it is also true that it is not biodegradable. We have developed a technology using which almost no water is required.
Watch Eureka with Dr. Gautam Roy, Director, National Institute of Research on Jute and Allied Fiber Technology, only on Rajya Sabha TV.
Welcome back. Now, the GST Council will meet for the first time since the approval of its formation by the Union Cabinet. Well, the Council will decide on tax rates, exempted goods and threshold. The meeting is expected to decide on long-pending issues between centre and states for rolling out the new indirect tax regime from 1st of April next year. Now, the GST Council is chaired by the Finance Minister and has the Minister of States in charge of Revenue and State Finance Ministers as members. Now, the two-day meet of the GST Council is likely to take up the discussion on issues of dual control and threshold with the states, demanding that they be given the legal and administrative power for imposing tax on entities with a turnover of up to 1.5 crore rupees. Earlier on 26th of July, with their last meeting with the Jaitley, states had made it clear that small businesses with a turnover of 1.5 crore rupees and below should be taxed only at the hands of state. It is expected that the council would select a vice chairman as well, who would be one of the state finance ministers. Meanwhile, the government is planning to introduce GST legislations, central GST and integrated GST in winter session of Parliament beginning November. On to some other news. Well, the Chief Justice of India, T.S. Tumkur, has said that most of the issues with the government over appointment of judges to the higher judiciary have been sorted out. Now, the CJI further said that some issues are there that need to be discussed, but that maybe in a week or two, the issues will be sorted out. The CJI was talking to reporters on the sidelines of an event in the national capital. He said that the long-pending memorandum of procedure to govern the appointment of judges to higher judiciary is expected to be ready in a week or two. The MOP came out of the Supreme Court verdict quashing the National Judicial Appointments Commission Act and upholding the collegium system of appointments to higher judiciary. The government had recently accorded to some of the demands of the collegium involving removing the cap on the number of jurists and lawyers who can be appointed to the apex court as judges. The forward movement comes close on the heels of CGI Thakur's meeting with Prime Minister Narendra Modi in Gandhinagar on his birthday. Well, a French Defense Minister Jean-Yves Le Drian is arriving in the national capital today to give final shape to the Rafale deal. Yesterday, the government formally cleared the intergovernmental agreement of the deal, paving the way for the purchase of 36 Rafale fighter jets, which will cost India €7.878 billion. The deal will be signed on Friday. Now, the deliveries of the Rafale fighter jets will start in 36 months and will be finished in 66 months from the date of the contract is inked. Now, these jets will come equipped with state-of-the-art missiles like Meteor and Scalp that will give Indian Air Force a capability that had been missing in its arsenal so far. And let's take a look at what else is slated for the day in the day ahead. India will host the 6th BRICS meeting on agriculture and agrarian development from today. The discussion will center around 5 priority areas of cooperation in the BRICS Action Plan for 2012-16. The areas of cooperation include creating basic agricultural information exchange systems, strategy for ensuring access to food for the most vulnerable population, reducing negative impact of climate change on food security, and the adaptation of agriculture to climatic changes, enhancing agriculture technology cooperation and innovation, trade and investment promotion. A local court of Hyderabad will hear the 2 check bounce cases against Vijay Mallya filed by GMR Hyderabad International Airport Limited. In its last hearing on 20th of April, 3rd Special Court Magistrate of Hyderabad had convicted Mallya and A. Raghunatham, a senior official of the Kingfisher Airlines Limited, in connection with the 2 check bounce cases involving 50 lakh rupees each. India and Russia will conduct a joint drill Indra 2016 in the Russian Far East from today till 2nd of October. The military exercises will involve 250 servicemen from each side. The joint exercises had previously been scheduled to begin last August and last until the beginning of September. Later, the 2 countries agreed to postpone the joint drills. Let's now get to some international news. At least 43 people have drowned on Wednesday after a boat carrying more than 600 migrants capsized off the Egyptian coast about 140 kilometers north of Cairo. Now, boat carrying Egyptian, Syrian and African migrants capsized off the coast of Kafr al-Sheikh. Meanwhile, the Health Ministry confirmed the number of people who have drowned. Out of 600 passengers, around 158 people have been rescued and rescue workers are looking for more survivors. Now, Egyptian Prime Minister Sharif Ismail said that all resources possible would be directed into the resource rescue mission and those responsible had to be brought to justice. The tragedy comes after the head of EU's border agency warned that increasing number of Europe-bound migrants are using Egypt as a departure point. Let's get to some more international stories. Here is the World Wrap. US Secretary of State John Kerry has called for all planes to be grounded in key areas of Syria to save the troops there. The appeal follows an attack on an aid convoy. Now, making an impassioned speech at the United Nations, John Kerry said that the future of Syria was hanging by a thread. 20 civilians were killed in Monday's attack on a UN aid convoy. More than 19,000 students on the small Canadian province of Prince Edward Island were evacuated after police received a threat that bombs were placed at a number of schools. Police said that nothing suspicious was found after the officers searched all of the schools in the province. Threats were also received elsewhere in Canada. Students at more than 60 English language and French language schools in Prince Edward Island were taken to safer locations by staff outside the schools. At least 14 people, including 5 women and a child, were killed and many others remained missing after an overcrowded boat capsized in south-central Bangladesh. There were over 50 people in the boat when it capsized in Sandhya River amid strong currents. The fire service, divers with assistance of police and people in the neighborhood were carrying out rescue efforts. And the US military says that Islamic State militants may have fired a chemical rocket at American troops based in Iraq. A rocket that landed within several hundred yards of US troops at Oyara Air Base near Mosul is alleged to have contained mustard agent. No one was hurt in Tuesday's attack on the base, which is home to several hundred US soldiers. Now, if confirmed, it would be the first chemical weapons attack on coalition forces in Iraq. On to some sports news. Well, in a clear show of defiance to the Supreme Court appointed Lodha committee, the BCCI has named a 5-member selection committee headed by former wicketkeeper batsman MSK Prasad. Now, the panel comprises 2 members with no test experience, despite the Lodha panel recommending a 3-member panel, all with test experience. Well, the new panel was decided at the BCCI's 87th annual general meeting held in the backdrop of Lodha committee's recommendations, which have not been accepted by the board yet. Now, Prasad replaced Sandeep Patil as the chairman of selectors. The 41-year-old former player has played 6 tests and 17 ODIs. Of the other 4 members, 2, Gagan Khora and Jatin Paranjape, have no test experience. The new selection committee has a combined international experience of just 13 tests and 31 ODIs.
We have gone through this process. We got a lot of people, a lot of applicants came. We also got a first-hand insight into what their ideas are, what they wish to do, what their visions are. Plus, in the future, naturally the number of applicants were far more than the number of selectors we can appoint. But we have got an insight into the kind of manpower that is available to take up different positions in different places within the BCCI. वो आगे टीम के परफॉर्मेंस में देखा जाएगा. Selection panel का performance ultimately the proof of the pudding is in the eating.
And India will take on New Zealand in the first test at Green Park Stadium in Kanpur today. Well, this test will mark a major milestone as India will play its 500th test. And this test marks both the start of the 3-test series against the Black Caps and a packed program of international cricket for India, which will also host England, Bangladesh and Australia later this season. The match will start at 9:30 a.m. Now, to mark the occasion, the Board of Control for Cricket in India has arranged festivities. Now, former captains like Sunil Gavaskar and Mohammad Azharuddin are expected to join Sachin Tendulkar and Kapil Dev at the stadium as part of the celebrations. Now, India are strong favourites after their recent 2-0 victory over the West Indies in a 4-match away series.
Now we're putting in more effort to bat against the spinners longer in nets. Practicing small little things by ourselves as batsmen, whatever the strengths are. Someone might sweep, someone might play off the back foot, whatever it is, step out. We're trying to improve that area of our game slowly so that we can cover all bases. If you want to be a champion side, you obviously don't want to give the opposition any window to get into the game. And that is one area that, as you rightly mentioned, we have recognized that needs to be worked on through the course of this season. And the good thing is that we are playing a lot of test cricket.
Well, that's the wrap on this edition of news. But news and updates continue on your channel. Thanks for watching.